Hey, Gabriel Blake,
Hey, Gabriel Jose.
where are we today?
We are at bar quarantine for this is the 10th probably podcast we've done in quarantine.
I think that at this point we have made more podcasts trap at our places than in dive bars. So I think that our name is completely misleading.
Gavin Newsom said that companies that work outdoors can operate now. So I think we should just do outdoor podcasts.
I mean, the funny thing is that we could have done them before too, is that we didn't actually depend on outdoor businesses. So
Socially
just
distancing
social
podcast.
distancing podcast. Because even if the outdoor business are open, that doesn't mean that we can just get close. So,
That's true.
so yeah. We watched M by Fritz Lang this time, and the reason why I chose this movie is because I was really surprised that you had never watched a Fritz Lang movie, and I also feel
So
like
you wanted to educate me?
I wanted to educate you. I wanted to actually just show you what you were missing, as you also made me watch Winter's Light for just educating me in Ingmar Bergman. So
And you liked it.
I like it. I thought it was a good movie, and I think that. I miss also another movie like the one that I watched many years ago, and I liked it. And I wanted to see exactly how we survive the passage of time. You know, it's like, okay, I watch like way more movies now. Do I still relate to this movie in the same way or not?
So when did you see M for the first time?
Like 13 or 14 years ago, basically what I was doing is like I'm going to be like checking a list of the best movie ever. So like the best movies of all time, and just start watching from the oldest ones. And
So
saying, you
that's why
know,
you've seen so many silent films.
I mean, I haven't watched like many of them, but I watched like a good representation. So this a bit more of is 1931 when the first talkie, the first movie with sound, it was from 1927. So it's part of the first age of talking movies. So it's still like pretty obvious about that, you know, and pretty obvious that some of the resources that they use they come from the silent age. So I think that is
And
like a very interesting movie when it was shot.
before we start talking about M, what other Fritz Lang movies have you seen? Because I really haven't seen any of these.
I watched Metropolis, of course, as everyone has watched,
Not
and
me.
but we're going to fix that. Don't worry, Blake. Don't worry. We're eventually going to fix it. And the Doctor Mabuse, the first one, that was basically like his franchise of movies. He has like three or four of these Doctor Mabuse movies.
Dr. Mabuse, the Gambler.
If that's the first one, yeah, that's the one that I watched.
Got it.
So yeah, what do you think about it?
So just in terms of a synopsis, it takes place in Berlin in the 30s, and there is a child serial killer on the loose. Kids keep disappearing, little girls to be specific,
Hmm.
and it's causing a panic. And then, in a very Zodiac like style, the killer writes a letter to a newspaper and they start to do handwriting analysis and other investigative methods to try and figure out who he is. But then the underworld of Berlin, it's disrupting their criminal activity. So all of the bosses of the criminal families get together and decide to have their own manhunt. And eventually they find him, and the criminals find him, not the police. And then there's kind of I don't know if you know the term kangaroo court. It's like a trial, but by
By the
the
public, by the
public.
mob.
Yeah, it's not
Okay.
like an official. So yeah, that's the synopsis, and I liked it overall.
Overall, the keyword is overall. So please just proceed, as I expect you're going to do, to just highlight each one of the weaknesses that you detected on it.
No. So I admire how dark the film was. I like dark films, and for a film from 1931, it's pretty impressive. And it was an hour and 45 minutes long. So thank you for that. And
You will never forgive me for that, okay?
um, No, it was really good. It just has a lot of the same, I wouldn't say they're problems. It's just things that I don't particularly appreciate from films of the time. For instance, there was zero character development. None. They
Mm.
were all two-dimensional characters. That first little girl that goes missing, I think her name is Elsie, goes missing in the
Ellie, yeah.
time the movie is going. Ellie.
Yeah.
I didn't care about that mother. I didn't care about that little girl.
No, she was not there. She was like just basically like a leitmotif or the way to actually just start the movie. It was a bit more of a motivator for the story more than actually just something that was going to be critical for the movie itself. But I think that the character of the serial killer, that I don't remember his name because they only mentioned it like once or twice, I think that his character has a bit of development. Because at the beginning, you actually just think is okay, this person is the fucking worst thing in the world. Is that he's just a predator that is looking for little girls and hunting them down.
And
And
you've
towards
changed
the
your mind. He's not the worst thing.
no, he's still the
A
worst
child
thing.
rapist serial killer.
No, he's still the worst thing. But they present him in a way of just being, how you say, like trapped or just surrounded the whole time. Basically, like the victim of a mob.
Explain.
So when I watch it, I
Did you just
remember.
call the serial rapist murderer a victim?
No, okay, not the victim of a mob, but they actually just turned the tables around for him. And when he was like just predating on the weak and vulnerable, he just became like the target of a mob. That is the how do you say the mob syndicate. And at that point, it's basically like you are completely defenseless. Is that in the point that they know who you are, you cannot hide, you cannot try to defend yourself. It's like you're done at that point. So is that they turn? I think that they actually turn like 180, and they try sort of like they turn the situation 180 degrees, and at the same time they try to give him an opportunity for defending himself, for just saying like, look, this is something that I cannot control. Not justifying, not trying to normalize what he does, but at least like giving an opportunity for expressing himself. It's not like in other serial killer movies that is okay, this guy is evil and that's it.
I see what you're saying, but the reason that we have a justice system is to be sure justice is served, right?
Yeah.
So whether he was put to death by the formal, actual justice system or put to death by that mob, it doesn't matter. He
It
was a
does.
monster. It does
It
not.
no, it
Justice would have been
does.
served.
No, it does from the perspective, exactly the last sentence in the movie when they show the mother that she disappeared from the beginning of the movie and she said, okay, I'm not going to be recovering my daughter. You have to keep an eye on your kids. If the mob had killed the serial killer by themselves, the mother would have never had any kind of closure. The police would have never found anything else about this guy. Probably would have hid the body, and there wouldn't have been any kind of resolution for them. So yeah, it did matter. They should have handed over to the police.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if things were black and white, but again, justice would have been served if the mob put him to
Yeah.
death or the police put him to death. And to be frank,
Yeah,
the police couldn't do their job.
they did. They actually, I mean, that's the interesting part about this movie is that the police look like completely useless at the beginning and they are being attacked by the press. But at the same time, they have their own angle of investigation. So they try to look into the psyche of the serial killer. I mean, this is not like Mindhunter kind of level, but at least they try to do some kind of analysis that, oh, it has to be a person that it does that. We're not talking about like a Quantico FBI kind of
You see, the
analysis.
handwriting shows his insane sexuality.
Exactly. But that kind of stuff is that they actually found who he is. They know who he is, but they know it through a different path than the mob. They end up to the same result, and probably because of the being a bit like faster to react, the beggar syndicate, they can actually pinpoint, okay, the guy is here. You can just get him here. But the police would have actually got to the same result.
And what do you think of the fact that he got caught because he can only whistle one song ever?
Look, I remember when I watched the movie, I felt like Sure, that's a bit convenient, I guess. I think that I believe a bit more like the story from the police, how they rationalize who he has to be, than what happens. Like, so the blind, that's also like, a twist. The blind balloon seller, because maybe in Berlin, like a 25% of the population in 1931 was blind. I don't know.
I liked his card, blind.
Blind, like just saying it. But then you could see the beggar that he was also asking for more. And he has like a blind sign, but he wasn't blind. So I found at that point is like, sure, I guess that you have to move the story forward, and this is like a way, but it's not something that I'm going to think that is good storytelling. It's a bit more of a, I don't know, excuse for just moving the story forward. And it also just drives to one of the most iconic scenes that is like the other beggar, like just writing the M on his hand and just putting it on back.
Yeah, I liked that scene. I liked the scene where, how do you pronounce the actor's name? Is it Peter Lorre?
Peter Lorre, yeah. That
I thought
he
he was
then had,
fantastic.
yeah, and then he had like a really good career in Hollywood.
Yeah, I was trying to think of, wasn't he in Casablanca?
Yeah, he was.
Wasn't he Sam?
I don't remember his name. No, I don't think that he was Sam. I don't remember his
Anyway,
name. Yeah,
yeah, no, it was a good movie. You could tell. I mean, you could tell it was one of the first talkies. Even for that, I thought it was well done. There was a period where it went silent for a while. I actually texted you, and I was like, I can't hear anything.
yeah.
Um, Apparently, that lead motif, that's the first time it's been done in film. And now it's very common to have musical themes to indicate what's going to happen or what
Yeah.
has happened. I can appreciate it for what it was. I just find it a little simplistic in terms of the storytelling and the character development and how the guy gets caught. And
So there are like several things as you were mentioning that I think that this is a bit more of a transition movie, as we're saying, is that this is only 4 years after the first Toki. And I think that it still shows that there are like many aspects that they come from the silent film. So the acting is still this over exaggerated kind of acting. You can see like Peter Lorre when he's like just looking at someone, he's like just surprised and just being like extremely exaggerating on their signs, on their gestures. And also the voice, I had the feeling that from a technology perspective, the voice is something that probably they didn't re-record on a studio. Probably they only record on location, and that's the reason why there are like some parts that the volume feels like it disappear completely, or is like pretty muffled. But I think that is good. Something that really surprised me, and I wanted to hear your opinion, is like I think that there are several scenes that they are surprisingly well shot in a creative kind of way for being 1931. Like for example,
I
when
actually had that
there's
exact same thought.
yeah, like when they're showing the beggar syndicate, like that gigantic room where everyone is there and ends up in the bar, is like they're like just moving the camera like fairly quickly, and they just go over people and crossing like several tables. That is like how did you do that at that point? Because it's not like the optics were good enough for just doing like zooms and just pulling out. It's like probably they are moving everything as fast as possible out of the way of the camera.
Yeah, I've seen how they've done that on like Charlie Chaplin films, and like the second the person's like out of frame like this, they
They
like
just right away.
rip everything apart. And
Yeah,
so the camera tricks are cool. And then I was thinking, in that, I think it's the very first scene when the woman carrying the laundry basket is walking up the stairs, and then Elsie's mom comes out, and then the camera goes in towards them as if it was like a handheld cam, and I was like, whoa.
yeah.
Like,
That didn't
I
happen
remember
there yet.
watching the Kubrick films from the 30s and not being nearly as impressed with the camera work. So
Yeah.
that did stand out to me.
Yeah, this reminds me, and I'm sorry, I think that is probably the first time that we mentioned this in a very long time, but it's like Citizen Kane. It reminded me about like, okay, this is fairly experimental, or bold cinematography, for the time that it was shot. Is that
Yeah,
they're doing,
they had these shots where they would focus just on the shadow on the wall instead of showing the actual characters and things.
yeah,
Yeah, I can see that.
yeah. I mean, when you go through film studies, is that they use a lot of the resources that we have for granted right now about like, okay, this is the meaning when you do this. Is that there are like plenty of scenes that they actually show like a upward shot or a downward shot for just, like making the audience feel something specific. So it's not only about like the acting per se, it's also about like how the camera work actually resolves the situation.
So that's a very good point. And I guess while there are aspects of this film that I can respect and that I liked, I didn't feel absolutely anything during any point of this movie. So, I mean,
Huh.
it's
Didn't you
just,
feel? I mean, maybe I was a bit more easy to impress when I watched it the first time, but I remember like the first scene when the serial killer goes away with Elsie, with the girl, that I felt like that's pretty disturbing. You
I don't
know,
know,
like
maybe I'm just a Philistine and I need scary, sad music to tell me how to
to
feel.
help you out. But no, the idea of actually how it goes, maybe it was because of the sobriety of the scenes that there is no music or anything to help you out with it. So basically, it's like okay, they go away with the balloon, and then the only thing that you see is the ball that he was playing with. You see the balloon like just trapped in some power fences or something,
Mhm.
and that's it. You never see the body. You never watch a resolution of the scenes. That you're only being told is that something bad is happening, and the lack of music for actually just reinforcing that it makes it a bit more disturbing for me.
So, this is, I don't have this expectation for the film. It was 1931. But also, for me personally, as a consumer of film, I love serial killers and movies about serial killers. And I would have liked to have like gotten to know Beckert more and kind of been exposed to the horrific monster he was. And I think we were supposed to get the horror from his pudgy face and how weird he acts, but you see so little of them that I thought this is the interesting thing about the movie. It's like this fucked up horror, not the people just on the hunt for him.
You know, the thing is, as we discussed last time about the servant, that I had a different read on the movie compared to the previous time that I watched it. Is like on this one, I had the feeling that it was the same read. And it's like it's not only about the serial killer, it's about like how everyone goes crazy in Berlin. It's like how everyone was like completely obsessed about him.
Did you know that even in his old age, Fritz Lang called this his favorite of all the films he did?
About Metropolis, that's surprising.
Well, I only read one source, but they quoted him as saying this was his favorite.
Okay.
And do you know why he said he made this film?
No idea.
To chastise mothers for neglecting their children.
I mean, certainly the last sentence when the mother is saying like, "Take care of your kids, keep an eye on
Looking
them."
into the fucking camera, I was like, okay,
Yeah,
we get it, Fritz. Relax.
yeah. That's something that is like is you could never see a movie nowadays like talking into the camera, giving that kind of moralist message. Maybe it could be an Aaron Sorkin movie, but I don't think that
Uh,
anyone else could dare to do that.
what is that Russian film that we saw last year that we both just absolutely loved? That's a perfect
Loveless,
film. Loveless. Come on, the final scene where she's running on the treadmill.
but
It's
she doesn't
basically the
say
same thing.
anything. But
Of
she's
course,
not
because
telling
we
you
learn
anything.
subtlety and nuanced storytelling, unlike this,
Sure.
where everything is over the top and they have to show a crying mother. Don't neglect the children.
Look, it was different times.
I
So I
understand. And
accept.
that's why I'm saying this is like a personal complaint. It's like when my husband loves the opera. And when I go to the opera, the storytelling is so simplistic. Like the woman is mad that her husband took her kids, so she throws herself into a volcano. Like it's just, it doesn't work with me personally. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the film.
Okay. No, no, that's fine. I have to say, I like it. I like it. I think that as
I liked it
probably
too.
probably not as much as when I watched it for the first time. That for me was mind blowing. The first time that I watched it, about like, wow, this is pretty disturbing. Right now, I have the feeling that I'm a bit more jaded, or I've watched like way more movies about serial killers, and I feel like, yeah, the serial killer movie. It's true that it's not as deep as the new ones, and it's true that it's not as modern as other talkies. It still is paying the price of being a transition movie, and that shows in some aspects. And some aspects that they are not like age well. There are many scenes where they are like looking at the camera, straight at the camera, and nowadays is something that you only do if you want to create discomfort. And at that point, it was a bit more like, well, it's not really about discomfort. It's about like selling how they feel. It's like But nowadays, as standard, the audience is going to be feeling weird about it.
Yeah, I mean, I have to appreciate it for a product of its time. When I read all the things that it did in film for the first time, you're like, I get this is important, but it doesn't
Yeah,
resonate with me.
yeah, no, that's
But
completely
there
fair.
were very impressive things. The camera work, fantastic. That scene at the mob trial,
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah. Do you like that, for example, when the police arrives at the mob court, that they don't show the police,
It was just his hand, right, on the guy's shoulder.
that everyone starts like just raising their hands?
Yeah, that's a bold choice.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that I like sometimes how the movie doesn't show you stuff. Like, for example, when he kills the little girl, they don't show the little girl. Is that you're always assuming from that point on that the little girl is dead until
Yeah,
they
they
mention it
find
one
one
time.
body, right? I
Yeah, I
mean, they
don't
don't
remember.
show it, but they talk about finding one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but it's the kind of thing that the movie plays a bit with what you don't see, and just implying what happened instead of actually just showing it. There is not too much exposition on the movie, and I like that. So I think that is
I
like from
get
that
it.
perspective is properly written. It's like he's not treating the audience as you're done and I need to spell absolutely everything. It's not like one of those movies that start with, some kind of explanation. It's like, we are in Berlin, 1931, and kids are disappearing left and right. Mothers are worried. But are they worried enough?
But the mothers are neglecting their children, so we better chastise them.
Yeah. Let's see what happens when the 1930s mothers of Berlin neglect their kids.
They should have been less concerned with chastising mothers and more concerned with the Fuhrer who was on his rise to power at
Sure,
that very moment.
sure, but maybe they were thinking that that's a crazy guy. That's never going to get to power.
He'll never
Yeah,
be leader.
yeah,
That's what I
and
thought about
then,
Trump.
yeah, exactly what I was going to say. And then you get someone that tells you to inject bleach on your body. But yeah. So what is your score?
This sucks because I'm super influenced by everything that I read about it. Did you know it was voted the best German film of all time and like the 94th best film of all time?
Above Carell? I'm surprised. This is the second. I think that is the second German movie that we watched in this movie club.
We should do a map, a heat map of where
Yeah.
we're watching the most movies. I bet it would
Be-
skew towards Spain.
No way. I'm sorry, man, but no. Probably will be UK and United States. But I think that we watch Cassé, but Cassé,
It's
Haneke is
French.
Austrian, and the movie is French, actually. So this is the only movie I think because even Carell is UK, I think. Fassbinder is from Germany, but I think that is UK. So from that perspective, that this may be the first German movie that we watch.
Interesting. Didn't we watch Victoria? No?
No, we didn't. You told me about it. We watched quite a bit of French films a couple of
That's
months
because they're
ago.
the best.
Just leave it there. Just leave it as an exercise to the listener.
I mean, it's not
What?
as good as I'm so excited, but they have some pretty good films.
Yeah, their comedy doesn't get there, unfortunately. So yeah, we have watched quite a bit, and you were saying that you read a lot about this movie, so you may be a bit influenced about it.
Oh yeah, so like I want to rate it a 7. I'm going to rate it a 7, but I'm like, everybody seems to know something I don't know.
I'm rating it an 8.
All right.
It's a movie, is that the thing as we actually discussed about like just the beauty of the movie. I think there is like they have like several shots that I think that they are amazing for their time. That it makes me think like, wow, they tried hard. It was not about okay, we put the camera there, we throw some actors, and this happened. Then the part about like remembering the movie is like I remember it exactly like take by take. I knew exactly what was going to happen.
Oh really? You remembered the entire story?
Yeah, the entire story. I mean, I didn't remember that it was like 1 hour and 48 minutes, but I remember it's like, yeah, I remember that this happens and then this happens and then there is this twist. But and then about recommending it to other people, I recommended this movie like plenty of times. About like if you want to watch a classic that is good, that is entertaining, this is a good movie. So that for me is this a movie that is an 8, like a solid 8.
Fair enough.
Mm. Cool. So what are we going to watch next?
Well, I picked out this 8-hour epic from Slovenia, 1950s. It's about the war.
What else we're going to be talking about? Let's be honest.
So, have I mentioned on this podcast before that I love serial killers? I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but
I think that only a couple of times today. Yeah.
So it got me thinking, what are some other good serial killer movies? And I looked at a ton of lists, and I'd seen basically everything that I knew was good, except the Michael Mann film Manhunter, which is the first film adaptation of the books that gave us Hannibal Lecter. So I think this came out in 1986, 5 years before Silence of the Lambs. And it's supposed to be good on its own right. To be honest, I haven't read any reviews. I've never seen the movie. It could be another Headhunters. There's no way of knowing until you endlessly make fun of me for my poor choices.
I would love a second terrible movie from you in such a short period. No, that's cool. So basically, it's based on a Red Dragon.
Is it based on Red Dragon?
Yeah.
So because that's the first book. I always forget that's a prequel. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, Red Dragon was adapted afterwards, after the Silence of the Lambs. So it's going to be the same story. Yeah.
Yeah, but apparently this stays truer to the book. And fun fact, the way my college worked, you had to take tests in a testing center, and you had to be on good standing with the college to take the test. And I lost Red Dragon, the book, from the library, and so I couldn't take some tests because
you were not
I had
good
fines at the
standing?
library. Good book, though. I loved it. Julianne Moore, best actress of her generation.
Oh my God, yeah, that's right. She was there. God. Well, thank God that we're going to be watching this and not the Julianne Moore version.
Damn it, I missed an opportunity.
Yeah, no, that's good. We have like 0 Julianne Moore so far in this movie.
What?
Yeah.
Shortcuts. We're going to watch Robert Altman. You're going to see Julianne's Moore.
I hope that she cries for the whole duration of the movie. God. Okay, well, I think that's it. Anything else to discuss about this movie?
No, thank you for introducing it to me. I never would have watched it without you. And so now you've given me Fritz Lang and Kurosawa. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Wait, did I introduce you to Kurosawa?
Yeah, I'd never seen one of his films until we watched that Civil Servant movie.
Oh, okay. That's right. I have forgotten about that movie. Yeah, that I asked you to watch. Yeah, that was a really good movie. Like, pretty heartbreaking.
That was a movie I emotionally connected to.
Yeah, that was a good movie. Yeah, and it was also 3 hours, close to 3 hours.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was a long movie, and I also introduced you to The Servant a couple of weeks ago.
And the Werner Fassbender Dick movie. Thank you, Jose.
You're welcome, man. You're all welcome. Okay, folks, thank you so much for listening.
Wash your hands.
See ya.